Welcome everybody for joining our another session of Real Estate IQ's show. This event is brought to you by Real Estate IQ and Express Capital Financing. Last time we had Max joining us, and we had tons of questions about the DSCR loan, and so we wanted to bring him back, and so we can ask him a lot of questions and also kind of field some of your live questions as well. Just a quick introduction of our host organization, Real Estate IQ. We focus on deal generation, tons of off-market leads data. As you can see here is a successful client that got a very profitable deal within about 5 to 6 months into his real estate journey. They have built a thriving business now using the Real Estate IQ motivated seller data. Okay, a couple more slides here. Ismail actually has done tons of good, very profitable wholesale deals. I have seen, I think, probably one of his most profitable deal is he showed me his closing statement that he made over $80,000 on just one of his deals. Obviously, that's more of a kind of outlier, but tons of opportunity and some tons of deals that you can get by using Real Estate IQ data. And Daryl has done a lot of deals either through marketing to the data, to the off-market motivated sellers, or putting together and funding deals as a private money lender. We actually had him up here as in our AMA a couple months ago as well, and another successful client. So for those of you who are not familiar with Real Estate IQ, we have a suite of solutions. As I kind of mentioned, that one of our core products is on off-market motivated sellers, and people really like the pre-foreclosure leads where the owner is extremely motivated to sell their house or lose it during the auction in the upcoming months. And so lots of success there. Every month we probably see about over $100 million of equity in these foreclosure properties. So you too can get a hand on a piece of these. So we have a community as well. We want to really kind of build a full community to help you make deals and really find success. Our mission is to help one more person win. And that's why we also have our upcoming speaker up here. And our goal and our job is to really build a thriving community where we can do a lot of high quality deals together and build an awesome future for us and our families. Okay, so if you're actively looking for deals, you can join our buyers list. This is a list where it's a little bit different from, say, a wholesaler's buyers list, where we actually qualify you first based on your ability to close and your track record as well. So just scan the QR code. If you're serious about finding deals and buying deals, make sure you join this list, and one of us from Real Estate IQ is going to reach out to you and qualify you. Okay, these are a couple of deals that we have found, put under contract, and also sold. And actually, we have a private lending opportunity here in Thornton, Texas. We have, we're basically going to be purchasing it at about 70% of after repair value, and there is a private lending opportunity available. If you're interested to learn more, write down this phone number here, 469-386-1061, and we'll give you more details. All right. Without further ado, I do want to introduce our main speaker up here today. Max has been, Max, I didn't know you had experience in real estate sales as well. He started his career at the age of 21. He actually established his own brokerage as well in Brooklyn, and then led a team in Austin, Texas and made over 150 home sales on an annual basis. And now as a leader at Express Capital Financing, he is leveraging his experience and expertise to help his clients to accumulate wealth, and he has passion of helping other people achieve their financial freedom. So I think that's why we're here today. And welcome, Max, and welcome back. I know you just got married and had a fantastic honeymoon. So you want to tell us a little bit about the fun things you did while you were away? You are muted, Max.
Oh, sorry about that. Well, I was just saying that we had a phenomenal time. I appreciate the congratulations on that. We had a fantastic time. It was a lot more work than we expected. We walked a lot. We went to Japan and we really tried to explore everything we could.
Wow.
I feel like I need another vacation at this point.
Yeah. I remember walking a lot. Our feet were like red and sore from tons of walking. So
yeah, I think we averaged like 25 or 30,000 steps a day. So I'm excited to be back, even though I'm standing right now. I'm excited to be back and sitting.
Yes. And welcome back.
Thank you.
So everybody, I know we got a lot of questions. And so you can feel free to enter your questions on the chat window here for Max. Maybe let me get started, Max. We got a couple of questions that are from the DSCR session. One question is, for the DSCR, do you pay a penalty for paying early?
That's a big question that does come up. So typically speaking, our DSCR products do have a prepayment penalty on them. Now, there are options on how you can change and customize your loan, right? So if you know that you're going to exit early, you can actually opt in to get a higher rate, but not pay a prepayment penalty, which over the course of a year or two would actually save you more money than you would if you paid the prepayment penalty. So there are options on how to customize that. Typically speaking, they're usually built out with either a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 prepayment penalty, which means that in the first year, if you exit, you pay a 5% fee. Second year would be a 4% fee, then a 3, then a 2, and then a 1, and then it disappears. Or you would get a 3-2-1, which works the same way: 3% the first year, then 2, and then 1. Right. So if you're going to be doing a 5-year hold, a 3-2-1 prepayment penalty is not a bad structure to have. You don't have to worry about it because you know in 5 years you'll be able to exit without any fees. But if you know or anticipate or want the flexibility of being able to exit even sooner than that, you can bring that prepayment penalty down to a 1 year or 0 years.
How much interest rate are we looking at now for a DSCR loan these days?
Yeah. So right now, interest rates have been stable, but also fluctuating, right? So it really depends on the day. It does depend on the leverage of the deal, right? So how much LTV you're looking for, right? So if you're typically looking for something in the 50 or 55% range, you're going to get the best rate available. If you're trying to max out and go to 75, you're going to pay a little bit more. It depends also on the borrower's credit score and how strong of a borrower they are. It depends also on one more piece, which is the debt service of the property, right? How strong is my deal? If my property is bringing in a 1.5 DSCR and I have the same credit as Steve and and we're asking for the same leverage, but Steve's deal has a 1.2 DSCR, he's going to have a little bit of a higher rate because that deal is a little bit riskier than mine at a 1.5, right? Now, with all those variables in mind, I would say that rates can range between 6.5 to 7.5 on average, depending on those three factors.
So that's and thank you for sharing that. So we have a good reference, and I think that's a really good advantage. You know, say you're moving from a hard money short-term construction loan to a longer term.
Oh yeah. The burst strategy is becoming more and more common every day. More people are learning about it. More people are also finding deals where they could cash out and get some or all of their down payment back when they're completed with the renovations because they've added enough value to the property. So it allows them to still reuse their capital without having to sell off the asset and still maintain the cash flow, right? Now, selling the asset's always going to make you more liquid, right? And allow you to probably get into more deals. But if I am liquid enough where, hey, as long as I get the money that I put into it back, or some of it, or maybe sometimes even more, that might be enough for me to be able to say, I want to hold this asset, keep my cash flow, and allow my money to get the next deal done for me.
Yeah, especially, we were just talking internally that wealth is built when you hold the asset.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of right on the appreciation, among other things.
Oh, yeah. I mean, liquidity is built when you sell the asset. There's no question about that. But like you said, wealth is built by holding the asset, right? Whether it's by appreciation. And again, usually we're talking long-term appreciation. You hold an asset for 5 or 10 years, you should expect to see better returns on your deal. And again, cash flow is king, right? We all want to build that ability to know that there's constantly money coming in and feeding me so that I can either A, take care of my family, and B, also have some extra cash flow to now use and put into my golden egg, which is going to allow me to buy more assets and control more assets, which constantly grows and grows and grows.
Let's switch a little bit, Max. I appreciate your comment on that, on wealth building. Let's talk about the liquidity requirements a little bit for the hard money loans. I'm seeing is there a general rule of thumb that we should kind of think about? Let's say it's a, $300,000 property or $300,000 loan. What kind of liquidity should we kind of have to be able to show in order to qualify for that loan?
For sure. And that's actually a great question. I'm so happy you brought that one up. Let's break it down by the different capital requirements that we do need in a deal, right? So the first thing you need is your down payment, right? So that would be the first liquidity requirement. Now, as long as you have enough, when it comes to hard money lending, it's very experience-based, right? So if I'm a newbie versus being an extremely experienced developer, I may have I will have a higher or lower down payment requirement, right? So the first thing to do is really reach out, speak to your lender, find out how much you do need to put down on a typical deal. That range is going to be anywhere from 10 to 30%, right? So if I only need to put down, if I've done, let's just say 5 or 6 deals and I'm able to put down 10% down. So now on a typical, let's just call it a $200,000 purchase, I can come in with $20,000 down payment. So that's the first liquidity that I might need.
Yeah.
The second thing now that we have to look at is your interest payments, right? I have to be able to maintain the interest payments throughout the life of this loan. So now let's just use a very simple number of 10% interest just to do easy math, which is $20,000 over the course of a year. So if we take 20,000 and divide that over 12 months, we are talking about $1,666, right? Now, keep in mind one piece here, which is that Express Capital Financing and most hard money lenders are not going to sit there and tell you, I need to see X amount of dollars in your bank account. All we want to know is that you have the cash to close on the deal. Yeah. Right. And as long as you have that, we're okay with it. But now, just because we're okay with that doesn't mean that you don't have to plan this out and be strategic about how you're going to come up with the capital, right? So have this conversation with your lender. What's my interest payments? Well, hey, your payments are going to be, let's just say $1,600 a month. Do I have the income cash flow to maintain that, right? Whether it's my W-2 job, whether it's other assets that I have that are bringing that in for me where I don't have to have it right now. Well, if that's the case, then I don't really need to worry about that. I know where that money is coming from. But if I am completely based on just flipping properties and I have no other source of income and I need to make sure that I have the right liquidity for it, well, then you should have the full interest payment or 6 to 8 months of it available based on how long you're expecting this project to take you, right? If I'm planning to do a 3-month flip, it's a $10,000 renovation, I'm in and I'm out. Well, do I only want to account for 1 month? No, I should still account for more, right? Because we don't know how soon your property is going to sell. So always err on the side of caution rather than not, right? So planning out how much you need as far as holding the property and not just the interest payments, but also your taxes, right? When are my taxes due, right? In some counties, you pay it at the end of the year. Sometimes if you get a better deal, if you pay it off quarterly. So just knowing where you are with your holding costs of the property is important too. And usually you're going to be paying your insurance for 1 full year in advance. So that's usually covered already in your closing costs. So you don't have to worry so much about your insurance payment. Mm-hmm. Now, the next thing you do have to think about is closing costs, right? So you have your lender closing costs, you have title, you have, if you have a wholesale fee or a realtor fee that has to be paid. Again, usually most of the time those are covered in the purchase price. So it's not, again, it's more just if that scenario is there, you have to think about it. But what are your closing costs, right? Ask your lender for a term sheet. Now, your lender's term sheet is usually only going to include the lender fees and lender costs, right? How much does it cost me to close with the lender? But there are some other costs that do come up, right? So for example, if the last year's taxes weren't paid and I'm responsible for some of them, that could show up on my HUD and I have to bring that to the table. So another good person to speak to with that would be your title rep, having a conversation with them and allowing them to kind of share with you what other costs they may have that are involved in a closing. Mm-hmm. Typically, title costs are pretty mandated, so they're usually going to be the same throughout. Where they usually differ a little bit is on their attorney fees and document fees. That could be slightly different from title company to title company. And then lastly, the last big piece that we should be talking about is how much you need in order to start renovations on the property, right? Because even though we are covering 100% of the cost of the renovations, as a investor, you still need to front the first draw, right? You need to get started with work. Now, I've seen some people do it pretty creatively where they actually came out nothing out of pocket, whether they negotiated with their contractor to get work started and they'll just get paid as it gets completed. I've seen people front just the material, which they've put on their credit card. Contractor does work, and then they go ahead and get reimbursed for it right away. But more often than not, when people are trying to do multiple projects at once, they're giving their contractor a deposit, sometimes 10% of the entire construction budget to get started. And then as they get completed, they'll go out and pay and recycle that 10% deposit throughout the project. So having enough, and again, it's not a number that I could come out and say this is exactly what you need, right? Because you can negotiate the deal that works the best for you and that works best for you, right? It's all about each person's individual situation. So when we're having this conversation with the borrower, I'll usually break it down and ask them, okay, well, what's your structure with your contractor? How does that work? What do you have to give them? And then from there, I can come up with a number that makes sense for them. But if I had to just throw out a number, I would say about 30% of project cost is probably a good idea of where somebody would want to be if they're putting down 10% down payment as to what they should want to have liquid.
I love it. Yeah, to summarize, I think I heard the down payment, which is 10% to 30%, interest payments, closing costs, and about 30% of the project costs. So rule of thumb. Correct.
That would be
a requirement.
Correct.
Awesome. Really love that. Okay. Rhea has a question. Is DSCR loan more for improvement of an existing property, or can you also use it to purchase a property?
So a DSCR loan is best for properties that are already turnkey, right? So it's either I'm buying a property that can be rented tomorrow, no work is needed, it's ready to go, I don't need to put any capital improvements into it, or there's already a tenant in there. Another great use case is a property that you already own that has equity in it that you're trying to tap into. Or if you're just trying to lower your interest rate, if you have a high interest rate right now and the market allows for a better interest rate, then you could refinance it for a lower interest rate. But DSCR is for stabilized assets, not for properties that need work. When you're trying to do something for a property that needs work, you're typically going to be looking for a bridge loan, aka a hard money loan, aka private lender.
Gotcha. We have a question about the liquidity requirement with regards to the reserve statement.
Yeah. So what's the breakdown for the 6 to 12 months reserve statement? So there, really what it is it's hard to calculate the exact same thing. What I calculate is just what the total interest would be in the maximum worst case scenario, right? Why do I say that? Because if I borrow $100,000 for the purchase of the property and I also borrow $100,000 for the renovations, right? The day one, I'm only making my monthly payment on the 100,000 that I borrowed for the purchase of the property because I haven't used the renovation money yet. So as I start to draw out on the renovation funds, that's when I start making interest payments on that money. So for example, today I only borrowed 100. Tomorrow, now I pulled out an additional $20,000 to start the renovations. Now I'm paying interest on 120. Then I pull out $30,000 for my next draw. Now I'm making payments on 150, and so on and so forth, right? So what I would just do there is just take the 200,000 times it by your interest rate. That's your annual interest payment if you were to make it if you were to take the full amount day one. But again, you may not have to have a full 12 months of interest reserves because it's not a 12-month deal, right? If my renovations could get done in 1 to 2 months and then another 1 to 2 months of being on the market and I could sell it in 4 months, again, I still, even though I'm at 4, I still want to plan for 6 or 8 months of holding it just in case. And I want to make sure that it's still a good deal in that scenario, but I would typically only need to hold it for 4 months. I hope that answers your question. And if there was more to it, Josh, please definitely do comment back.
All right, we got another one regarding seasoning time period. And then the example is 100,000 with an ARV of 200K. Let's see. Of what point do I not have to wait 6 months?
So, okay, I think I know where his question is. And I don't think we touched this today. It may have been in the last webinar that we did, but what he's talking about is the seasoning period. So if I buy a property today, if I bought a property in January of this year, now it's April, that's been 4 months, am I able to refinance that project into a DSCR loan using the today's as-is value, right? That's what the seasoning is can I use today's as-is value? Now, the good news is that at Express Capital Financing, I could refinance using the as-is value as of month number 1. So technically, after 1 month of holding the property, I could already refinance it into a DSCR loan that allows me to use the as-is value. Now, there is one, not caveat, but guideline to that, which is that the total loan amount can't be above 120% of the total project cost. So in this case, if I bought it for 100 and I spent 50 on it, so now I'm going to take 150,000 and I'm going to times that by 120%, right? And that's going to give me 180,000. So now that means that my max loan amount on that project could be 180. But because my as-is value is 200,000, right? And I hope I'm not going too fast for you guys, but because my ARV is 200,000 and we could get a 75% cash out, that means that my max loan amount is 150. I'm okay there, right? So I could refinance that after 30 days right away into a DSCR product for a much better rate and not have to worry about can I or can't I use the as-is value? You can, because your loan amount is less than 120% of the entire project cost. So we just want to make sure that if you are going to be doing a massive cash out, if there was a crazy amount of equity in that deal that you just created, then we would want to wait a little bit. But if you're doing a normal everyday transaction, then there should be no issue doing a cash out refi right away.
Got it. How flexible are your underwriting criteria when a property shows a strong projected cash flow, but it doesn't have current tenants?
Could you click the question so I could see that?
Yeah. So, underwriting, say the property has a strong projected cash flow, but right now it doesn't have a tenant.
So the question on that would be whether or not it's a purchase or a refinance. So when we're dealing with a purchase, we can use vacant properties. So when we're doing with a purchase, we can deal with vacant properties, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to look at what the fair market rent in that market is.
Mhm.
So when we get the appraisal, we're going to there's going to be a section on there where the appraiser is also going to tell us not only what the value of the property is, but also what the property could rent for based off the condition that it's in. And if that number gives us a strong DSCR, then we're going to go ahead and move forward with that deal. Now, if the property is a refinance, we're going to look at it depending on the situation that we're in, right? So if your property is vacant because you just finished renovations and it's on the market to be rented, then we will do that vacant property. But it also depends on a little bit on how many units we are. So if you're a 4-unit property and all 4 units are vacant, we're probably going to want to get a few of those units rented before we start. But if you're dealing with a single family, let's just say, and you just finished renovations, you could start the refinance right away, and we'll work with the fair market rents on that deal. So there is flexibility in working with vacant properties. It really just depends on the scenario. What we want to avoid is a property that's been vacant for a while and you're trying to refinance based off the fair market rents, because that's going to raise the question of, well, why has it been vacant, and are you actually going to rent it, and is it going to rent for the amount that we're calling for?
And Max, I see we have Canadian attendees.
Okay.
How are you guys? What are your views of working with Canadians, right? Because I think the terms are probably a little more favorable in the United States, and so based on my conversations with some folks from Canada, is that they like United States assets. I don't know how they feel now with the new tariff. But it's changing every day. So, but kind of, what's your underwriting criteria with regards to folks from Canada, and maybe in general also overseas? Kind of how do you guys do that?
For sure. I mean, to start off, we do live in one of the greatest countries in the world. So I definitely can appreciate people wanting to come and invest here in the United States. It definitely shows a lot of appreciation. Now, we do work with foreign nationals, right? Now, it's a matter of just doing it the right way. So it depends it depends a little bit on the scenario, right? If somebody has a work visa or is allowed to be in the United States by any sort of visa, then we usually will have a much very easier, simple process to go through where they could get normal, regular terms. Now, if somebody is just a foreign investor, right, which means they live outside of the United States, they have no U.S. credit, they do have money in a U.S. bank account, and they have an EIN number in the U.S., then we still will lend them. Now, we're gonna max that out at 65 loan to value for that person, but they can still work. We can still work with them. Now, somebody that has U.S. credit, they have a visa, they even if they live in the U.S. part-time, then they can get 75, 80% loan to value with us. We still have products for them. There are some, minor limitations here and there. The biggest thing is to kind of share with us your current status. But as long as as long as you have a visa that allows you to be in the States, or you have U.S. credit, we can get you a typical loan with us.
Okay. All right. Peter is asking, I'm a new investor and I'm trying to scale quickly. So while there's DSCR and hard money loan, what are some risks that we should be aware of as new investors?
That's a phenomenal question. So as I'm sure everybody here knows, whenever you are investing, there's always risks, right? There's risks every day. If you were in wholesale and now the tariffs came about, you're probably hurting a little bit right now and trying to figure out the next way to pivot. Well, real estate is a really strong market that is usually looked at as the bottom of the list of things that can get impacted by economics and things like that, because people are usually going to pay their rent before they pay their car payment, right? People are always looking to make sure that they have a roof over their head. Now, does it mean that there are no risks? No, it does not mean that, right? There definitely are risks in real estate. The biggest thing is making sure that you're doing your numbers right, making sure that you're doing conservative numbers, you're allowing yourself, because if let's just say now my DSCR is at exactly a 1.0, which means that over the course of a year, the income that I would have made from this property is exactly equal to the amount of money that I have to pay in expenses, which is my principal, interest, taxes, insurance, and things of that nature. Now, if you have a tenant that decides that they can't afford it, they leave, and now you're vacant a month, well, now that year, your DSCR is actually a negative because you lost a month of rent, right? So making sure that you're bringing in a buffer for yourself, allowing yourself to account for, hey, if I do lose a tenant, and again, single families usually are known for maintaining tenants for a long period of time, right? It's usually when you get into multifamily where there's higher turnover, but accounting for it and making sure that it makes sense. Knowing that there could be maintenance requirements on the property, right? So when you're buying the property, understanding, number one, what is possible to come up as a cost in the future, right? How old is my boiler? How's my hot water tank? The appliances, are they new? What about the roof? How does that look, right? So getting a property inspection is going to be helpful to know what could potentially come up, but it doesn't mean that it's limited to that, right? We can have a tenant that unfortunately, clogged the toilet this month, and now you have to get a plumber over there to help and fix that. So definitely do account for some unexpected expenses that you can manage and maintain so that you're not coming out of pocket, right? That's why I always say, like, make sure to, as a professional, we should always be hoping for the best, but always plan for the worst and make sure that you have a buffer. Now, that's for cash flowing properties. That's typically what you want to do there. When it comes to hard money financing, so that means that you're typically going to be doing a fix and flip. One of the biggest risks that people would look at is, well, how long am I holding on to this property for, right? Because time is everything. If I hold on, let's just use an example. I'm going to use an example that most of us can remember, which is COVID. If I bought a property right before COVID and started to fix it, and then now all of a sudden COVID happens, it turned out to actually be a good thing for us because property values did increase drastically in 2021, where people were able to eventually sell their properties for a profit. But in the midst of everything, right, when there were very little people going out and looking at properties to sell a property, you could have potentially lost money because you held on to it at the wrong time. So knowing that I'm holding this property for as short of a period of time is going to limit that risk as much as possible. And when you do have a property that requires a longer period of holding, you want to see a greater return on it because it has to be worth the risk that you're taking. If I have to hold this property for a full year, well, what could happen in a year? Well, we don't know, right? We like to think we do, and we can anticipate them. But knowing that anything could happen is just making sure that if I do have to hold this for a year, I want to make sure that my return on investment is going to be higher because I'm taking a risk by holding this for a longer period of time. So it's more about the market. It's like they say, if anyone here buys stocks or crypto, it's all about buying low and selling high, right? Same idea with property values, right? You want to buy low and sell high, or at the value that you should get for it. But it's all a timing thing, right? If I bought it at a time where prices are very high, it could come down before it goes back up. So if I'm forced to hold on to it for a longer period of time, I want to know that I can. So what a lot of investors will look to do to mitigate that risk is say, okay, well, if I can't sell this property for a profit, I want to know that at least I could refinance it, hold it as a rental property until the market allows me to sell it for that profit, right? So making sure that you're capable of holding on to the asset is so important if the case comes that you can't sell it for the property for the price that you're looking for. We don't take a loss till we sell.
Correct. Kathy is asking Airbnb properties. I'm assuming, and I'm gonna maybe chime in here because I know Kathy. I think she's probably referring to what kind of loan products do you have for Airbnb or short-term rental properties?
Absolutely. So when it comes to Airbnb properties, we have our DSCR product that works for those as well. There are some changes on the way we look at them just because the asset is a little bit different, right? We're going from a long-term leasing property to a short-term property. So in a nutshell, when it comes to Airbnb, if you're doing a purchase and the property can rent if the fair market rent for a 12-month lease will debt service, well, then we can do it as a typical purchase without any changes or looking at it differently. And then you could operate as an Airbnb, which is going to bring you a higher return on investment, just because you're probably doing an Airbnb there because renting it short term is going to yield you a higher income than doing a long-term lease, right? It does require more work. You are more involved. There are some more expenses, but it usually, if you're making that decision, it's because you've done the numbers and it shows that a short-term lease over the course of a year is actually going to yield you a higher income. Now, when it comes to refinancing an Airbnb or buying a property that's been operational as an Airbnb, what we need to see is 12 months of history. And there's a reason for that, right? So now let's just take an example. If I took a property in Denver, Colorado, for example, where in the wintertime, it's very high demand because everybody wants to go skiing and be a part of that's when people will travel there. So now I bought it in January, in let's just say November, and then November, December, January, I had some crazy numbers, right?
Yeah,
and now I go to the lender and I say, look, I'm making $100,000, on this, and if I do this the full year, it's going to be 1.2 or whatever the numbers are. Well, that's not entirely true, because you're going to see a lower rate in other months because it's not as demanding, right? Now, so that's why we need to see a full 12 months so we can average it out and say, okay, yes, you do make really good money during the high season, which in this case happens to be November, December, January. But in June, July, and August, you actually see a major dip. So instead of we're looking at it 100,000 from a full year, instead of saying that you make, let's just say you made $10,000 a month during those high seasons and then 3,000 in the lower. So we're talking about somewhere in the $50,000 a year. We're going to say, okay, well, now you average out to about $2,200 a month. And that's what we're going to look at, right? So that's how I did some mixed up math over there. But the bottom line is we're going to take the full year's number and average it over 12 months to get that's what your property's income is, to make sure that it makes sense. So we do need to see 12 months of history on those.
And Max, you might have covered this and I missed it. Let's say we are trying to turn it into an Airbnb. We're buying it. We don't know what the history would be. There's kind of like a projection or expectation. How would you kind of underwrite that?
So we would underwrite that based off of what a long-term lease would look like. We would want to make sure that at least a long-term lease will be able to get you a 1.0 DSCR. And if we can get there, then we can make the deal work. Even if it's a 0.75, I'm pretty sure we can still make that happen, but we would look at the long-term lease options just in case the Airbnb route doesn't work. At least we have the fallback on the long-term lease.
Got it. And while we're at it, how about let's throw something in here. There's something called the co-living. The co-living a set of arrangement where they're leasing out individual rooms and a whole bunch of roommates sharing the same house.
And unfortunately, we don't have products for that. It happens to be that my first deal in real estate happened to have been something like that. And I got super excited over it. And then I learned very quickly that those asset types don't have a whole lot of financing options. I've yet to find somebody that does lend on those. Mm-hmm. Now, there are ways to, for example, when it comes to college homes, right? There are ways to make that work where it's instead of leasing to each person individually a bedroom, we've had our investors lease the entire property and put the 4 roommates on the deal. So you have one lease with all the roommates on there. That allows you to have a legal lease that we can actually work with and finance that asset. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to have it where each person is renting a room and there's a lease to this person and that one, and then there's another one here, another one there, those are typically classified as what's called an SRO, a single room occupancy, and that limits our ability to lend.
I see. So Airbnb is okay, but single room occupancy is there's a friction.
Limitations there. Yeah, absolutely.
Limitations. Do you have products for wholesale? Switching gear a little bit.
Yeah. So we do and we don't, right? So if somebody's looking to looking for transactional financing, that's not something that we do. There are lenders that exist for that in the market. They're called transactional lenders or gap funders. They can help you with buying the property when you have to double close on it, right? So what that means is that you're buying the property, you're actually closing on it, and then selling the property to the investor, as opposed to just assigning the contract over to them. I've seen that usually happen when wholesalers are making a large sum of money on a transaction and they want to cover themselves and make sure that it's clean, easy, smooth transaction versus if they're making a small fee, they might as well assign it without any issues. But we don't do that funding, but it does exist in the market, and there are a couple of people that we might even be able to refer you to if you need that.
And speaking of that, maybe this also goes back to the liquidity side, Max. What are your thoughts about? I know that there are companies that helps investors who, let's say, based on their credit score, apply for a whole bunch of credit cards or lines of credit, and then creating liquidity, pulling money out of those, and then creating the liquidity. What are your thoughts on that? And maybe anything that we should know about?
No, that's a good question. I've definitely seen a lot of that out in the market, right? There are people that will go ahead and get you business cards and business lines of credit against your credit. Now, keep in mind that the typical way that works is that they are applying for, and again, strategically, without a doubt, they are strategically applying for many different types of cards that they know you'll get approved for simultaneously. So you are typically going to hurt your credit in the short term. Now, in the long term, as you start to use them and pay them off, it'll actually help your credit improve because now it shows that you are able to keep the debt and manage it, and you're charging on it and you're making payments. But in the short term, it's going to affect your credit actually a lot. So there's definitely times where it's necessary and makes sense. And there's times where I think it's a little bit too much for somebody to work with, and it makes sense maybe to do it slowly. So it really depends. I would say that that's a loaded question. It's funny because I used to work with people that did it. And again, I've seen times where it's been very helpful for somebody because it was the easiest way for them to get the capital that they needed in the quickest amount of time, and they weren't using their credit for other purposes. I feel that most real estate investors do rely on their credit for other means, including getting DSCR loans, right? If their credit takes a hit, they may not now qualify for that, and that's actually the better financing that they need. So it depends on the situation. I think that there are definitely times where it makes sense, but I think also that there's a lot of times where it could be a little bit detrimental.
That's a really good point. Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
How are appraisers chosen?
AMC, or can borrowers choose a local licensed appraiser? So, Jacob, it's a great question. Typically, lenders want to avoid borrowers choosing the appraisers, right? Because that creates a conflict of interest. So the technical answer is you cannot choose the appraiser. Now, working with a lender that knows their markets and who they're choosing and making sure that they're getting people that actually understand the market and can appraise it properly is very important, right? Now, the appraiser is always going to be and should always be an unbiased opinion to give you the value of the property, right? We don't want them to overappraise it because even though, yes, that might have helped you get the loan, that could actually give you false information that leads you into making a loss on your project. And you don't want them to underappraise it because that could affect your ability to get the loan in the right way, right? So making sure that we're working with people that understand the market is very important to us. Making sure that we get local appraisers that live or work in that area consistently is something that we do, right? So in places like our backyard, we have local appraisers on our list that we work with all the time. We know that they understand it. We know that they know what they're doing. When we're dealing with different asset classes, we'll switch it up to somebody that understands that asset better than somebody else. Like the same appraiser that's doing single families all day, I'm not going to give them a 5+ unit where that's commercial now and it's looked at differently. Now, in most markets, I would say we do use AMCs because they are the professionals at picking those people that understand the market. But in our backyard, yes, we're always going to have the people that we know that we've worked with for a very long time.
And Max, can you teach us what AMC stands for?
Oh, yes. An AMC is an appraisal management company. So they pretty much manage appraisers. They are kind of like the Uber of appraisers, right? So the appraisers are the drivers in this case scenario, or how you want to present it. And they are the guys that are saying, okay, well, give us the order. We'll find you who's the best suited person to do it, get a couple of bids on it, and then we'll pass that back to you and let you know who was the best price and best person to do that deal.
Right. Next question. Tell me about different asset class. Do you lend on multifamily properties?
Oh, yes, we do lend on multifamily properties. We have both. For multifamily properties, we have both DSCR and bridge products for that.
So, and a follow-up is, how would you handle the multifamily if you're living in one of the units?
Right. So unfortunately, we cannot lend on any properties where it is owner occupied. So we would not be able to help. I guess the term that a lot of people use in today's market is house hacking, when they live in one unit and rent out the other ones.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we would not be able to do the loan if you live in any of the units, because that creates. We're private lenders. We're not licensed under any government, agencies and things like that. And owner-occupied units are they do fall under RESPA, TRILA, and all these other regulations that we don't have to follow.
Got it. That's very helpful. Here's a really good question. What is one question, or maybe more than one question, you wish more borrowers would ask you before they sign their loan docs?
Questions that more borrowers would ask me before they sign their loan docs. I think that that's a great question.
But they don't, I guess. You wish they do.
I wish they did, but they don't. I mean, here's the thing, right? At Express Capital Financing, we train everybody here to be overly transparent, where we're going through everything with you before you've even gotten to the loan doc stage, right? We're working with you to make sure that you understand the draw process so that you don't have questions or hurdles after you close and can't get a draw. We're working with you to make sure you understand the closing process and what the estimated cash to close is, so that you're not getting blindsided and coming up with the wrong number, maybe doing some math and having a different expectation in your own mind. We're making sure that you understand the terms of the loan, as how long you have, how the payments work, etc. Now, so being that we're kind of walking you through every step of the process, I feel like we do a very good job at kind of maintaining that and making sure that you understand everything that you do need to know before we close. And I would say, I guess, is the question that I would want them to ask me is, wow. I really think that we cover all of it before we close with them, that we've had such a great success where we don't have a lot of post-closing issues.
That's good. That's good to know. That's good to hear. Let me ask another one that's actually I thought is really good. Can you share a case study where an investor was struggling to get financing and your team was able to structure a creative solution and get
Absolutely. I could give you one actually that we just closed on, where a borrower was needing to get. He had a fix and flip that he was doing, and he could not sell the fix and flip at a profit that he needed to get out of it. Right, so he was actually going to need to come to the table with cash to close. And what we were able to do actually was refinance it into, and that was more market conditions than anything, right? It was just that there were just no buyers at the time looking, and he couldn't wait for the spring season, the summer season, in order to sell when there were going to be more buyers. The property value was there. He just couldn't wait for buyers to come to his market. So what we ended up doing was we refinanced it into a 30-year DSCR product in order to get him the cash that he needed so that he could maintain it, keep it as cash flow, and worry about that at a later time. Now, there was a hurdle that we had there where his credit was subpar because he started to use his credit cards because he was so short on cash. And what we were able to do was we did a rapid rescore where we took a look at his credit report, and we have a system that we could put it through where it tells us, okay, if you pay off this card this much and this card that much and this card this much, we can get you to the score that you're looking for. So we actually went through that process with him, and we laid out a couple bucks to help him out, to help him get those cards below the number, because we knew that as soon as we refinanced, we'd be able to get that back. And this happened to have been a close friend, so I didn't have much worry there. Mm-hmm. And we helped him get his debt down. We did a rescore within 3 days. His score went up to where we needed it to be, where we were able to get him a 75% cash out, got him the capital he needed. He gave me back my money. I was very happy with that. And he was very happy because he got the cash out he needed to get into his next deal and not worry about this one, because now it's cash flowing with the tenant.
Max, now that you kind of break this up, I have hit a couple of cases because I do some homeowner outreach as well to motivate sellers. And some of the folks, they are kind of selling at a price, or they're trying to sell it by themselves, and they're trying to sell it in such a way as is that it doesn't fit the 70% formula for investing. Sure. And I have some suspicions after doing some research. It tends to be where they bought it too high. Mm-hmm. They either bought it through, directly from the previous seller, and now they're kind of stuck that they can't fix the project in such a way where they could get out, and that they're stuck. They don't want to sell and lose money. That I clearly remember one or two cases like that. And then there's another case where the person bought it at an auction, but again, too high, and so now they're kind of stuck and they can't sell. It sounds like it could be similar to the situation of your friend too, and I'm curious what solution can we come up with that can help them out in these.
Sure. So I think that the key difference between the two situations was that one of them, which was my friend's situation, his property value was there. It was just more of a timing issue, right? Whereas it sounds like and this is common, right? What you're talking about, somebody that, and somebody mentioned it earlier, right? They were asking about the risks of real estate. Yes. If you buy too high where you're not leaving enough room for yourself, this is the position that you might end up in, where you can't sell it without taking a loss. And then you're stuck in a position of, what do I do? Right. And you're typically trying to force a price on the market that's not there, right? You can't sit there, and Steve's not going to just be like, well, I'm a nice guy, I'm going to give you the money you're looking for, because then he's going to end up taking a loss. So he can't do that either, right? So in that situation, what I believe the conversation should be is talking about, well, if you were to hold on to this, right? If you don't take a loss of $20,000 or $10,000, what is the outlook for you? What will happen, right? What happens if we wait 6 months, a year, or so on and so forth? And if the answer is, well, if I wait 6 months, I know that there is an out here because the market, the buyers will be there, et cetera. Well, okay, that might be a conversation to have. But more often than not, the conversation is going to be, well, then I'm going to be more in debt because now I'm having more interest payments that I can't even cover that are going to get added on there. And then there's going to be default fees. And then there's going to be, then they're going to start the foreclosure. And then I need to hire an attorney. And now I'm going to be, instead of a 10K or 20K loss, I'm going to be looking at a 100K loss. Well, hey, look, I understand that. And I understand that it hurts sometimes to take a loss, but sometimes taking a quick loss is a lot better than waiting it out and taking a big loss, right? So helping them see, because people are going to make their decisions based off of pain and reward, right? What's the reward that I could get out of this? Or what's the pain that's going to happen if I don't make this decision now? So helping them understand that, hey, if I don't make this decision now, I am facing a much bigger repercussion or a loss that's going to be in the future. They would be a lot more willing to sell it at the price that makes sense, right? Because they didn't hire a realtor on purpose, right? They couldn't afford the realtor. And they're trying to ask for a price that they don't think makes sense in the market. Well, whether they think it makes sense or not is really situational, but usually they're asking for a price that doesn't fit with today's market. So it's a matter of leveling with them, understanding what they're going through and being a human being, but also helping them understand that, look, I understand that it hurts, but if you don't take this 10K loss, you're facing a bigger loss in the future. And I know that it hurts, but let's get over this hump. Let's make the right decision today to get out of it, and you'll get a better deal in the future. And I'll help you with that. I think is where you're going to find better success.
I love that. I think that's a really good tip for the wholesalers out there that are doing outreach as well.
Yeah. I mean, talking with sellers and motivated sellers is a really a difficult thing, and it requires skill. It requires time and patience and being able to level with them and communication skills. Like, you need to be able to really understand them, understand the numbers, and help them come to the decision that makes the most sense for them.
Love it. Okay. Here's a comment that your loan documents are very easy and simple to understand. So I guess that's a really good thing from Mohammed.
Well, I definitely appreciate that, Mohammed. And yeah, we try to really keep everything as simple as possible. There's no need to overcomplicate anything here. It's a matter of providing value, helping, investors grow. And the more you guys grow, the more we grow. So we're trying really, to be here and provide this information and just talk with our borrowers and help them make better decisions is really our goal. So I definitely appreciate that, Mohammed.
And what kind of financing can be used for buying foreclosed properties at auctions?
Typically, you're going to be looking at our bridge product, which is the fix and flip or the hard money. Those are all different names for the same product. But the bridge loan is typically what you're going to be looking for when you're buying a foreclosure, because they usually need work. They're usually in some sort of what's the word I'm looking for? They usually need some renovation work or something of that nature. When you're buying auction properties, it's important, we can close quickly enough, but it's important to really speak with us prior, right? Don't wait till the last minute, because when it comes to auctions, you have a time frame that you have to close it in. So making sure that we can do our work in time. And when you are buying auction properties also, by the way, you typically know the addresses for what's coming out in the auction. Now, they may stop certain auctions at that time or whatnot, but you have enough time to really discuss it with your loan officer, tell them what your thoughts are, what you're trying to do. Is there work needed? You're always going to anticipate the worst, right? Plan for the best, hope for the worst. So anticipate what's the max amount of renovations that I would have to do on this property if it's a gut renovation, and what's my ARV on it. Maybe do a drive-by and check out the property, right? But you're going to be working with our bridge product, which allows us to work with a closing that'll happen super quickly, typically in 1 to 2 weeks, depending on the location and the where the property is. And when it comes to foreclosure properties, sometimes there's more time on those and whatnot, and sometimes you can get access, sometimes you can't, right? But when you can, it's important to really always look at the property and see what kind of work is needed for it.
And so the good news for the investors out there is that you guys do fund the deals if for those that are intending to bid on the properties at the foreclosure auction.
Yes, we will fund those properties. Typically at the auction, you're going to have to put a down payment, right? Usually it's less than what our down payment requirement is anyways. So you would have to put that down. And then as soon as you get the contract, you send it to us as soon as possible. And if there's no access, we can sometimes work on doing what's called a drive-by appraisal, where we know that there won't be access, but we'll do our best to appraise it in the condition that we find it in when the appraiser drives by. If you can get access, or you can get by it and kind of peek in the window, it's tough because you can't really peek in the window sometimes because you're technically trespassing. But if you can see it from the street side or something like that, it's always helpful to see what you can on the property.
All right. Okay. So our time's up. I got like 2 more questions, and then I think we'll end here, and we'll save it for the next AMA. Sounds like we have so many questions. How do you approach financing deals in markets where the rent is rising, but the appraised value is lagging behind?
So keep in mind, Jacob, one thing that we need to understand when we're looking at that is that the markets are very, very telling, right? The markets never lie, right? You will always tell us a story of what's happening there. So in the situation that you're talking about, it will affect financing in some ways. When I say affect, meaning there's a change or something that happens to it, right? You'll still be able to get the capital you need for that property, but only based off of what works, right? We're not going to not finance it, but in this case, rents are rising, so my DSCR is higher, so I'm getting better rates than I would have if my rents were lower. But if the appraised value is not raising also, that's telling us something, and we're still not going to exceed the LTV on that, right? So it's it stays the same, right? So which means that my leverage on the deal, we never want to over leverage it, and you don't want to over leverage it either, because that could put you in a bad spot. So we're going to responsibly lend on that up to 75% of the value. Now, based on the fact that your rents are rising and it's bringing in more cash flow, that's going to get you a better rate, right? So it's going to help you actually. But the fact that the market value is not rising should tell us something about that market, which is that it's a very strong renters market. And for some reason, something is holding it back, and for some reason prices aren't raising. And what's the reason for that? Because I'll tell you one thing, if I took a $100 bill right now and I said, I'm selling it for $50, everybody in this chat is going to tell me, oh, I'll buy it off you in a second. And not only that, but somebody's going to come and say, I'll give you 75. One guy's going to say 80, all the way up to 99, right? So the market value is very, very real. If I said that I was selling a property in Cleveland for $50,000, but in my head, I think it's worth 100, people would line up to give me up to that 100, because that's what the value is. People would see that it's undervalued. So the chances are it's not undervalued. It's just holding back for some reason. And we can always look into see why that reason is. But the fact that the rents are rising is going to help you.
Awesome. All right. Last question, Max. What is the best way to reach you?
It's my favorite question. So you can reach us at Express Capital Financing. Our number is 718-285-0806. Again, I'll put that in the chat right now. It's 718-285-0806. You can also email us at info@expresscapitalfinancing.com, or you can go to our website, which is expresscapitalfinancing.com, and you can reach out, see different loan products that we offer, use our deal calculator. There we go. Use our deal calculator, request a quote on property, and we'd be happy to help out and talk to you more and get to know you and your goals and make sure that we provide the best customer service we can.
And you guys lend in 50 states, right, Max?
We lend in 50 states. So some products don't allow for, meaning the only state that's consistent that I cannot lend in is North Dakota. I do not lend bridge in Nevada, Arizona, and North Dakota. And when it comes to the 30-year DSCR product, the only state that we don't lend in is North Dakota.
So make sure you get in touch with Max with their phone number and their email address down here. Well, we really appreciate it, Max. Learn a lot from you, and that we look forward to having you back again and teach us something. Maybe we'll arrange a class next time.
It's always a pleasure to be here. I appreciate you having me on here and allowing me to really communicate with everybody and pass over what I have. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to reach out or save it for the next AMA. I'm excited for your questions, and we really do appreciate everybody coming out here and contributing and being involved.
Absolutely. And another housekeeping type of questions is there going to be a recording of this webinar available? The answer is yes. If you have registered on Streamyard, the system is going to automatically send you a recording basically right after we end this session. So look forward to an email for that. And finally, just kind of one quick action for everybody is make sure you can get your prize here. We have a special deal just for you. If you scan this QR code, fill in the event survey, so we can learn from you how to best bring you more events like this. And so we're also going to give you a special gift and add you to the exclusive deals list too. So, hey, Max, really appreciate you joining us. Have a good rest of the day and a weekend. And we look forward to having you back soon.
I appreciate that, Steve. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.